Hi. Almost everyone watches me without a subscription. Please support my channel with a subscription. I try for you. Thank you.
Story 1. My brother used to touch me, but my parents didn't believe me, and he landed a weekend job working with kids in the fall. My brother, Jason, will be starting his first semester of college at the end of the month. He worked as a receptionist during the summer, and he used some of the money to buy a car with our parents' help. My parents also threw him a graduation party in July, and they had a lot of people from church over too. Some of his friends came, but he had another party at someone's home without a church because my parents had a lot of rules, and he also said that it wasn't much of a party. They didn't allow drinking or any music that wasn't Christian, so he had another party with his friends where they could. I didn't want to be home for the party my parents had, but they forced me to be there and wouldn't let me go anywhere else, and whenever I talk to them about things from the past, they don't believe me and don't really take it seriously. My brother used to touch me even when I tell him to stop, and my parents would almost always take his side for some reason. There were other times where he'd say things to me too, and when I asked him to stop, he just wouldn't listen. When I would watch TV sometimes, he'd sit down next to me and start touching my feet/legs, and when I asked him to stop, he wouldn't and found it funny. There were also other times when he would say things to me too, and he said them for years and just wouldn't stop. I used to exercise/stretch in the family room before bed while watching TV, but he would come in after Mom and Dad went upstairs and make comments about my legs or just sit in on his phone without saying anything, and again, he wouldn't listen when I asked him to stop. He also had a habit of randomly asking me to do the splits or hold up one leg whenever Mom and Dad weren't around, or even if I went to get a drink downstairs, and I hated it so much that I began to stretch in my room after asking my parents if they could tell him to stop. My parents would only correct him if they saw him doing something, but he would always do it when they weren't looking, and no matter how many times I told him no, he just found it funny. I even asked if they could stop bringing him to my meets because I felt uncomfortable, but they said no because we're a family and we support each other, and I had to come to his basketball games too. I didn't have to go to practices, but I had no choice with games. I didn't even want him hugging me because it just felt uncomfortable, and he would make comments about my uniforms too and asked if I felt weird wearing them in front of people and joked that it was basically underwear too. I stopped doing gym because I began to feel uncomfortable and a lot of other things, but I still had to go to his games and stuff. My parents would get on him sometimes, but he still continued to do it, and he'll be working a job in the fall that's around other kids, and I don't think that he should be able to. He's going to be a counselor at a Saturday class in September, and it's a multi-sport camp for kids 6 to 12, and with some of the stuff he said about my sport when I practiced, I didn't think it was a good thing, but my parents disagreed and said it was a long time ago. I told one of my school teachers about my brother before I quit gym, but my parents were mad at me when I did, and it didn't stop my brother from making those comments. They've talked to him sometimes, but never enough to make him stop, and they don't punish him either or anything. They talk to him if they get tired of me complaining or if they catch him, but he never stops. He's gonna live at home when he goes to college too, and despite quitting gym, he still makes comments sometimes even though I stopped trying to be around him at home, and my parents get on me for not interacting enough. I want to dorm when I go to college, but is there anything I can do to make him stop in the meantime? I already stopped watching TV in the family room and moved stretching to my room back when I still did gym, but if I'm around him when my parents aren't, he'll say something weird, and I don't even feel comfortable wearing shorts or going without socks because of how many times he's bothered me, and I want it to stop before I go to college. Is there anything I can do to make him stop in the meantime before I dorm, because I've had it at this point and I even quit my sport because of it too. Edit. Just wanted to give some specific dates to when things happened. He's been touching me and making those comments since I was like 14-ish and he was 16-ish, and when I quit gym, it was because of some things he said that made me paranoid, and I'll add what he said at the bottom of my edit. After he continued doing those things for some time even after I told him to stop, I told my school teacher, and my parents were upset that I told her and didn't do anything to my brother at all. I was 15 when I spoke to her, and shortly after that, I quit gymnastics after some of the comments my brother said that made me paranoid, and I'll add those below. However, even after quitting and moving stretching to my room and wearing long pants and socks because I don't want him bothering me, he still made those comments and would ask me to do certain poses if I go downstairs to get a drink or he sees me when my parents are somewhere else like upstairs. He's 18 and still does it, and he's planning to work a Saturday multicamp starting in September that has sports like soccer and baseball on the grass and basketball too, but also gymnastics, and the ages are 6 to 12, and I was worried because of how he sexualized my sport and would be working with the same one. So, as others suggested, I might write an email to the club, but after talking to my sister who will hopefully help with the police since he's still making requests and trying to touch me even though he's 18, although if she doesn't, I don't mind going on my own. Specifics of what he did/said. When I used to stretch in the family room before bed while watching TV, he would come in and make comments about my legs, which is why I moved upstairs and began to feel uncomfortable with him at meets and wearing anything but long pants and socks at home, since he would sometimes touch my feet/legs if I was watching TV on the couch. For actual comments, he had a habit of asking me to do the splits or telling me to spread my legs at random moments when mom and dad weren't around or even if I went to get a drink, and if he saw me stretching, he would call my legs pretty and make jokes about how I wouldn't have trouble finding a boyfriend if I did the splits on his. And stuff like that made me move upstairs. He also said that I could be a stripper once, but it was always something about my legs and asking for poses randomly that I didn't want to do, and it made me somewhat paranoid at meets with how he would say that some people go to meets to check girls out and also once that it was free porn, and I hate how he finds it funny when I ask him to stop. Update: a few people said to tell a teacher if I could, but when I made my last post, school was still out for the summer. I was also told to give an anonymous tip to the gym, and I was able to have a friend's mom help because I didn't want to do it myself. I was there when she called, and she promised not to tell my parents and that I could tell her if anything else happened with my brother. I was considering having a cousin's mom help with it, but I figured that she might try and talk to my parents because they're family. However, he still landed the job and has been there since late September and is still teaching there now. I don't know if my parents were called because they haven't said anything to me about if it was brought up at all. However, the main reason why I'm writing this update is because I'm at my breaking point. It's been 4 months since my last post, and he stopped a little bit because he's been busy with school and work. However, my parents went away last weekend for something, and we were left at home when he started to bother me again. He came into my room when the door was locked and opened it with his fingernail while smirking at me. I was on my laptop when he did it, but that wasn't the main thing that bothered me. When I came out of the shower, he began making these comments about my legs that made me want to hit him, and I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt. When I told him to leave me alone, he made a gesture towards his privates which he's never done before and just kept smirking at me while continuing to do it. I called mom and told her, but she got mad at me for not getting along while they were gone, and when I went back to my room, I literally had to push my dresser in front of the door so that he wouldn't bother me or try to come in again, and I'm honestly at the end of my rope with him. When he started doing this, he was under 18, but even as he's 18, he just won't stop and mom and dad won't make them. I want to move out when I'm 18, but I can't take 2 more years of his nonsense until then because he's living here while going to college. I was able to record myself asking him to stop coming into my room after he unlocked it with his nail a few minutes after, but I don't know if I have enough to really do anything. I want to tell my friend's mom who told me to tell her if anything else happened, but mom and dad told me to stop saying things about him because he could get in trouble over me making things up before. But I can't take it anymore after so long of this, and I just want to ask how to go forward from here since he hasn't stopped since the things I've done since my last post. OOP comments. I was really hoping he was gonna live in a dorm, but it didn't happen, and even after I quit gym, it didn't make him stop either. I did talk to a teacher that made them upset, but I'm thinking about calling my cousin right now and hoping that she believes me and will help, but my brother was a minor before this year and when he started doing this and making these comments, so maybe that's why mom and dad gave him a pass, but I just hate it because they gave him a pass for years and said he was just playing and stuff like that. Part of me wants to record them because I just feel alone when they brush it off and everyone at church thinks highly of them and stuff like that and probably wouldn't believe me because of it too, but I don't know if that's wrong or even legal, but I just feel alone with it sometimes. I kept a lot of what I felt inside after they got tired of hearing me complain, and I regret quitting gym because I thought that would make him stop, but it didn't, and I quit because I began to feel weird and conscious of things that he put in my head, and I just couldn't focus. Despite quitting, he hasn't stopped, and I don't think that he will. I was hoping that him going to college would mean him going away, but he's gonna live at home. I'm going to call myself after what happened over the weekend and telling my teacher in the past and having my friend's mom call the camp he's at that somehow kept him on, but I hope that something happens this time because nothing did last time, but maybe another call will. Story 2. AITA for my coworker's daughter going through my purse and finding something inappropriate. Hi. So, long story short, very early 20s, own a toy that looks like a lipstick. I was headed somewhere after work where I would need this tool, so in my purse it went. It was in a velvet pouch that was in a makeup bag that was inside a pocket that was on the inside of my zipped up, filled to the brim purse. I put the purse where purses go, pretty high area of locker-like compartments, and went about my day. Mind you, the place where we leave personal belongings is outside my working area and no personal belongings are allowed past that point. We aren't allowed to use locks per the boss request. However, I got called to the front desk for my admin coworker wanted to return something of mine to me. When I got there, she told me that her not very old daughter had gone through my purse and found my lipstick. I stood there in disbelief and expecting an apology to follow her rant as she explained how her child had gone through my purse and through different pockets and many purses to be able to find that. She said she liked the shade and went to her mom to ask for something similar. Then my coworker figured out it wasn't a lipstick once she opened it and saw no pigment and a charging port. She flipped out on me saying how I shouldn't bring that anywhere near my place of work, and I stood there, flabbergasted, and all I could say is she went through my purse. Why did you let your daughter go through someone else's purse that was out of reach? I also told her I had not brought that anywhere near my workplace, as it was outside and tucked away. I don't think her daughter knows what it was, but it's disturbing to me that she had to find a stool to climb onto the locker area, access my purse, and then go through all of it till she found it. I want to make it crystal clear how out of reach the thing was. We didn't come to any sort of agreement and kept blaming each other, so I apologized for her child having found it, as that was not my intention, and told her to keep her child out of my things or out of the personal belonging area entirely. She told my boss about it. We have a very good work environment and boss is more a coworker than a boss, and boss advised her to keep daughter out of that room since anything legal could be in it, clarifying that legal doesn't mean daughter's age appropriate, alcohol, cigarettes, lighters. Now my coworker is bitching about it to whoever will listen. Again, don't care. Pretty good work atmosphere and we are all quite friendly and close. We talk about adult matters often after hours having a drink, and one of them was the one to recommend the adult toy to me, haha. Coworkers are staying out of it, although some of them have privately taken my side. However, main coworker won't let it go and is still butthurt. Ida? Relevant comments. Why were her kids there? She is there because they lost their babysitter and they are too young to be alone. Something I have left out of the post is that she is a single mom of 3. She has 3 little ones that are doing homework and such after school. One is barely a teen, the second is an 8-year-old boy and a toddler. Oldest, who found my item, spends a few hours there while the little ones spend somewhat less. Everyone has tried to be as accommodating as possible and there had been no issue up until now that we had noticed. But who knows anymore? OOP is voted NTA. Small update, in comments February 7th, 2023. I just got off work. Coworker and children haven't been in today. Boss walked in with a bag of what I'm almost certain were locks. I assume tomorrow we will find a bunch of locks. What I don't know if his coworker will return. Maybe she just took a day off? We will see. X. Update, in comments February 10th, 2023. Edit 2, I'm out early today, yay, and a few things have happened. My boss did install locks for everyone and apologized for the inconveniences to me, offered to replace the cost of the item too, since it had been going from hand to hand between mom and daughter. My coworker was reprimanded, but they didn't want to let her go because of her family situation. They checked the cameras and it was in fact the daughter that took it, but then she came back with the daughter to rummage through my purse and check my ID to see who to confront. In the cameras you can see the girl going through lots of purses, but not taking anything from any purse, says my boss. I believe this is true because there were no other compensations to other workers. My coworker was offered significantly less hours than what she was doing as a test try and wasn't allowed to take the children anymore to work. She quit on the spot because she was offended by the cut of hours.